Thanks everyone for joining in for this episode of Get Free 2. We've got Kevin Coomes with Chain. Going to talk a little bit about visibility, other things going on in the industry, a little bit about our partnership, and some pretty cool, bold topics. This is I think our third live episode. It's going to go ahead and bring Kevin in. There he is. Kevin with Chain.
So just so we're clear, we are live.
We are.
I'm just messing with you.
I know. I have no idea.
That's what's fun about live.
Yeah, that's sometimes you can see it on, like, I was trying to go to the event page on LinkedIn, and for some reason it's not live. I don't know, but I don't know.
It let me put it out to my LinkedIn. So
all right. Well, there we go. Tech guru Kevin
live
Coomes.
somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. Tell us who else you are.
Tell us who I am besides a tech guru.
Who else you are?
I like to say tech nerd, just to be clear. So I am the EVP of sales at Chain. But Chris and I go way back. I think I posted this on LinkedIn. We've actually known each other for 10, 11 years now, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Way back, old school industry folks. But been in the industry, 13, 14 years now. I was at Carrier Direct when we met. So got into the industry in consulting, doing consultant projects with carriers and brokers and 3PLs up in Chicago. Was up there for about 7 years, and then moved over to the brokerage side for a couple of years. So I was actually working in day-to-day brokerage for a few years, and then got to the tech side about 8-9 years ago. So I actually joined Revenova TMS when they were really early in the process. Actually, I think we had maybe 5 or 6 customers when I got there. Was there for about 4.5, 5 years, jumped over to green screens 3 years ago, and now I'm here at Chain. So got into the AI automation and pricing space, and now onto the full-on ops automation side with Chain. So
Carrier Direct, what was your favorite part? Working with me, huh? No.
Obviously, working with Cargo Chief in their many iterations of the company. It's funny because I've seen the evolution, right? I was there for the whole thing. Carrier Direct was a blast, actually. So it's really interesting, the story of Carrier Direct, if a lot of people don't know it, which is now Metaphora, which has Ryan Schreiber, Peter Rentschler, some really, really intelligent people. Trisha Dell, who's over there now, she's phenomenal. But the original Carrier Direct crew was myself. Jet McCandless started it. So Jet owns Project 44, for those who don't know. A lot of people know Jet. Joel Klum, who's the COO of Worldwide Express, he and Jet started it together. Eric Moline just launched a new company, but he was part of Baton and a couple other gigs. Brad Berlin, who's one of the co-founders now at Freight Claims. And who am I missing? Yeah, I guess that was the main crew at the beginning. So it's really funny because we all kind of spread out. We're all in tech now in the industry, but we were kind of the core consultants there at the beginning of the process, and then kind of spun off in other areas. So that was a lot of fun. I mean, we were all much younger than we are now. Not to age myself, but I think I started there when I was like 26, 27. So when I was first getting into the industry, and then did a lot of work, got to do a lot of work inside a lot of different brokerages. I mean, we worked with some of the large guys, Coyote, Echo there in Chicago, worked with Werner, worked with several others. But it was cool. Like, I mean, we got to see the tech, we got to see, the operations, the sales side of things. So it was, it's like a crash course in freight when you do that stuff. So
I was talking to DJ Aragon over at, I met him at Robinson. He was my supervisor. I talked to him yesterday. And like, just talking about some of the things that, like, we were blessed with at Robinson, I guess, for a very rich, robust TMS. We had a lot of really cool things in there, but still I look back and, like, I've shared this with other people that if I started a brokerage tomorrow, like, I probably wouldn't have a load board. Like, if I couldn't book, cover my freight, I probably didn't do the sell right. Like, I didn't have tangible capacity to begin with. And I think of, like, the problem that Chain solves, and, like, what did that exist 10 years ago?
No. I mean, a lot of the things that we're doing today didn't exist 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I think that the shift in brokerage, actually, I just talked about this morning with the guys, the BCS guys, because I was doing a brief overview of chain and everything for the sponsor day that they're doing today. But 10 years ago, we were so much more manual in terms of booking freight, tracking freight, all of this sort of stuff. Right. I brought up Jet with B44, right? Like the idea of getting all these integrations done and having it all, directly API integrated and easier data flow and that sort of stuff, like what Project 44 has done on the visibility side. We came up with that in that office, Carrier Direct. Like we just were talking about this, like this is broken, like this needs to be fixed, all this manual data processing and stuff for tracking. And the same goes for like what you said, load boards, booking, all this sort of stuff. I mean, this stuff didn't exist. And so, it's about revenue per head, which is what we were talking about this morning. Back in 10 years ago, it was, maybe I could run 10 loads because there was just so much manual input that needed to be done, from posting loads to calling carriers, to booking trucks, to bidding things, that sort of stuff. Right. It was all very, very inefficient. And so, now, I mean, with stuff like Chain and Cargo Chief and green screens and all these other solutions, right, that are out there today, around automating a lot of those tasks of bidding, pricing. Look at Highway and some of those, right, around like stuff with compliance, right, and things like that, and vetting. It just makes every single broker that much more efficient. They can double their load volumes, triple, quadruple their load volumes today. So that revenue per head goes from $1 million to $2 million to $3 million, and that's the thing, right? Where does that stop? Like as we automate more things, as we apply AI in better ways, like how much more efficient do we make these reps? So
somebody asked me, I think it was about sometime early Q1. They asked like what was the ideal revenue, annual, I guess ARR, I don't know, annual revenue for a rep, like a sales rep at a brokerage. And I think back then it was like 1.2 was the ideal. Like that was, that means they're keeping their job. They're making some money, at least, I guess, as a sales rep at a brokerage. And you're right. It is. I wonder where that goes. What's the cap? What's the limit? Like 5, 10, who knows?
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think there is a limit. I brought up a story this morning, and actually, funny enough, the mutual customer that brought us to where we are in partnership, right, with the C4 rates, and then where we're going with the capacity stuff with Cargo Chief and whatever with Chain. So Sims, I brought up a story this morning where they have 2 reps that they probably, I think Sims does 30 to 40 truckloads a day or more. And these 2 reps manage all their carrier sales and all of their track and trace.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And they're new to the industry. They're like both like a year out of school.
Yeah. It's wild, dude. Cause like I had at Robinson, we had a guy, called him Ricardo. But he had he booked so much freight, he had like a 5th monitor or something. And it was like, he was booking like 900 loads a month, I think. And like at any other brokerage, like you're usually capped right around I'd probably say 250 if you don't have tech. Right. Where we have some customers that have reps booking 750 loads. And they don't have a TMS like Navisphere. They have a great TMS logistically, and it's crazy how what you can do with tech, and it doesn't have to be so traditional. So I guess the next question, will the next rep be Chat GPT? Do you think it's what do people want when they come looking for AI stuff? Obviously not, right? ChatGPT is not going to be their rep, but there's probably going to be AI there. Do you think they want minimal touch? Do they want to just be hands off, or what do they want?
It's a loaded question. I think it's both. I think it's both of those things, right? I think they want limited touch or hands off different things. I think, well, at the end of the day, so actually, this is also pretty funny. You remember Joey DeBill, right? You worked with Joey at Cargo Chief. So great guy. I actually just talked to Joey the other day. Funny enough, I mentioned you to him that we were going to do this. So when Joey was a broker, right? Worked for Cargo Chief. He actually worked for me for a bit when I was at X-Freight. And Joey used to tell people, like, they'd be like, oh, can you go lower on this? Can you go? And he's like, if I go lower on this truckload, like his customers, right? He's like, I can't move it, you know? And they're like, I just need a lower price. He's like, great. And what he used to always say is he used to say, when UNICEF gets into the freight industry, you call them up, like when it's a nonprofit, right? That I'm moving this stuff for you free of charge. And it's like, okay, you know, like that concept is crucial to why we're building the tech we're building, right? And why we're trying to automate more processes, because then we can drive rates lower while still maintaining margin levels or improving margin levels, right? By automating manual tasks and automating the really inefficient stuff, utilizing AI, right? Utilizing chatbots, utilizing different automated outreach capabilities, whether it's phone or text or email. And so I think it depends on where you're at in the process and what kind of freight you have, the type of touch that you need. But what the goal is to make those reps more efficient so they can move more loads per head. And then that improves the margin levels, right? Improves the bottom line. We're a very compressed margin industry right now because of all the manual processes and just like how inefficient some of those processes can be because it requires so much touch. And so I think it's automating the right things, you know? It's like automating the right things so that you can free up time to focus on the tasks that require a more hands-on approach. And I guess that varies broker by broker, right? So it's really about finding the right places to automate that improves the bottom line.
You think one thing I think that is it's sort of
did
like
I actually answer your question, or did I
kinda? Yeah, no. So it's like augmentation right now. It kind of feels like there's a phase.
Yes.
Right
You're
now.
making them more efficient. Yeah.
Yes. Then who knows? So I'll ask this a little bit later, but it's interesting because like our most successful customers look at carrier sales as a pipeline, not a transaction. That's because they're able to, you know, with what you guys do with offer management, like that's something that's coming. Like they want more of like progression on that side, because like traditionally you don't have time to it's not carrier sales. It's just a fucking, I don't know, transaction deal. It's just do you have a truck? No, okay, bye. And it's just moving, and nobody stops to think about like where is the origin of the problem coming from? And it's usually the load board, or it's usually a process that's broken, and they just don't have the tools in place to like position them where they need to be, where like augmentation automation can do that, to put them where they have to be. Which kind of brings me to the next thing. Like you guys talk about freight visibility, but in a word, modern freight visibility. To those who don't know, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, so visibility in the past was like, okay, let's get as much data as we can, like flowing in, you know, geofencing or something, right? Where we're getting geofences off the trucks. We know where it's at, which we've had for a while now, right? We started doing that a while back. It went from pinging cell phones to, you know, apps because the FCC changed all the regulations. And then, you know, ELDs and any other methods. And we still use all those methods today, right? It could be an API to an ELD provider. It could be a EDI transaction. It could be a geofence from an app that they're tracking on an app. And that's table stakes, right? Like you're going to have to be able to live track trucks in some way, shape or form, or multiple ways. I think the modern piece of that, and like improving the process and like making it better, is introducing, it's not just AI, right? I think that's the struggle. Like people are like, just introduce AI and let it automate everything. It's like, well, that doesn't, freight has specific workflow and process, and it's very it's very complicated in that, even in a single brokerage across multiple customers, there's going to be requirements. There's going to be SOPs that require specific touches at specific times. The one example I always use is like, you got a multi-stop load and this customer wants a picture of every drop off, every delivery of every pallet, right? So you got to remember to reach out. You got to remember to tell the driver to take a picture and send it to you and whatever. And so that type of stuff is where the foundational piece of that modern visibility is. You need a workflow engine. You got to have a platform. You got to bring it all into one place, right? From booking to delivery. And so that you have the paper trail, you've got the info, then you can build the workflow and the automation so that you've got each individual SOP basically internalized in the system so that it goes off without a hitch and nothing's missed at that point. And then introducing the AI component to that, now you can actually automate the communication layer, right? You can actually automate the outreach. It looks like it's coming from a human being, right? You can text, you can email. We call it omni-channel communication, right? It doesn't matter how we're doing it. Get it into one centralized platform and then disseminate run the workflow, get the platform going, get the foundation going, and then allow the AI to go out and do the tasks. And so the way I think about it is like with the AI in conjunction with that workflow, that's kind of like the modern process. And it's both proactive in that it's doing all your SOPs, and it's reactive in that if there's a problem, if there's something and the driver reaches out and they've blown a tire, the AI can just automatically respond. And it just handles, starts handling it, runs an exception, alerts the rep, all that. So it's all those little in-between tasks, I think, that you got to fill those gaps that the traditional just visibility tracking an ELD or something's not going to give you.
It blew my mind when I first logged into HubSpot a couple of years ago was workflows. It's so simple. But I mean, man, like that is where like the task in a CRM, if somebody comes to fills out a form, you can automate what email goes to them and add the tokens of like, hey, first name, like all that stuff. And then if they click and book, like there's just like, that's all the workload. Like that's the task that people got college degrees to do, right? To go click buttons. It's right. It's wild. Like, and in the same thing it's in brokerage too. Like one thing I do know that brokers love is, and they hate to get rid of it, is control. Like they want so much control over like the relationship, or like, and to them, sometimes that means calling and saying, do you have a truck, or like clicking the buttons because whatever reason it's easier to do. I don't know. I mean, it's just bizarre, like how we think of things moving this, like, a hubs or a CRM type function into logistics. Like a lot of brokers, like carrier reps, probably don't even log into a CRM. Like I didn't even know what that was until I was in sales. And
CRMs are kind of useless for freight though, right? Yeah. Like the CRMs have to be adapted because it's all geared towards its product sales, and we don't like freight in brokerage. You don't do product sales. So
that's where we come in, right? Like it's the offer management, the visibility, those things that people don't like. You don't. It's your workflow toolkit. Like you don't have to do all those things, and it's just interesting to see, like, when we get people coming to us that, maybe they're on a legacy TMS or just one that's not integrated, and they don't have those functions, that like, that's where we bolt on and give them the outcome that they want. And that's what the AI is supposed to do. Give them the outcome, not like, take the relationship away. And I think you said it best, like AI is not here to take your job.
Yeah, no, it's not about that. I think that's it, right? It's about, you said it too, right? It's about augmentation. It's about actually making them more efficient. It's like making them better, right? Giving them superpowers so that now they can go out and they can just do their jobs, do the things that humans are good at. That's what I say a lot. I've said this with green screens forever, so it's becoming cliche, but like do the things that they're good at. They're good at relationships and driving revenue. Yeah. Right. Like that. Those are the two things that human beings are better at than AI. Sales, right? And building relationships in terms of the empathy, the sympathy, that sort of stuff, that they can go out and handle problems and exceptions and manage that sort of stuff in the ops process specifically. And so I think and that's where AI right now specifically is not going to be great. Like, it's not gonna be great at that. Like, you can put in an AI voice bot and it's gonna have phone calls, but you're gonna be transferring a lot of calls to people once they start realizing they're talking to a bot, or once they start realizing there's like not that, bot's not gonna get on the phone and be like, oh, hey, John from Alabama, like, did you see that Iron Bowl last night? Man, that sucks that Alabama lost to Auburn. Like, it's not gonna do that. So that's human interaction, right? Those are the things that's where you make those connections. And that's what good salespeople do. That's what good customer service people do. Like, they kind of have that cognitive ability to go out and do that. And like a voice bot's not going to do that. And a chat bot's not going to do that. Right. But they are good at individual small tasks. Right. I got to get a ETA. I got to do a check call. I got to tell the carrier, like, that bid for $1,000 when I only have $900 in it, you got to do better. He says, no, you decline the offer. Right. Those are easy, simple things that it can do.
So I want to ask something. So like this, somewhat related to what we do and like helping, giving people quality offers, not just noise, I think, and how you guys like vet through the offers and things, like where fraud was a big thing and still is. I kind of feel like it's I don't know if it's not becoming such a big problem. Like I was talking to somebody yesterday who said we only had 3 loads stolen in the last 2 years. I mean, that sounds good. I mean, we've had to claim before, like when I was booking freight, and it's but do you think that fraud is, I'm going to try to phrase this properly. Is fraud a tech problem or is it something else?
That's a good question.
Because there can be a lot of tech that approaches fraud, the issue going on.
Well, I think about it this way, right? Like there was Elon Musk had this quote a couple of years ago at like this Wall Street Journal conference thing. Like, he was on an interview and I saw this, and he was like, the US government is, how did he phrase it? He's like, they're the largest corporation in the world with a monopoly on violence. That's what he said. And what he basically meant by that, right, is that like, I can't go out and just serve justice on a guy who steals my truck. You know what I mean? Like, the government has to step in. Highway patrol has to somebody's got to step in and do that. Right. And I can't as a broker go out and issue, licenses. Right. I can't issue CDLs. I can't issue the license to be a motor carrier. Like, the government has to step up in that regard too. And that's not necessarily technology. I mean, it is a technology problem, because their technology is really bad for doing a lot of this stuff, right? And that's what makes it so inefficient. And that's where things fall through the cracks. But that's an organization, a bureaucratic problem in that way, right? Like, that has to be solved, and that's where like we need to step up as an industry, right? Like, I was gonna go to my first political action committee, the PAC for TIA, when I was supposed to be at TIA a couple weeks ago, and I didn't end up being there last minute. But like, I was talking to some of the guys, Mark Fiorini and Brandon Bay and Daniel Ilg, that are on the board at TIA that have been going there for years. And I was like, is anybody from the tech side like going to the policy forum in DC when you go meet with people? And they're like, no. Well, that's our problem. Right. So that is a tech problem, right? Because the government is not going to solve the problems that we're solving, right? As private businesses, we're going to be infinitely better at solving those problems than the government will, because they are a bureaucratic mess.
Yeah.
So, but in conjunction, so like to solve these fraud problems as an AI company, as a tech provider, right? Like, change should be involved in some of these conversations, right? We should be talking about how we can do better about vetting carriers, making the process better, how we can work together to make this easier, right, for the government to prevent a lot of the issues that are occurring. You're still going to have people steal trucks, right? It's still going to be, Fast and the Furious on the highway. But you can decrease the problem by increasing the protection layers that we can put on with tech and with, government oversight in terms of that stuff. So, it's a twofold problem. And I think we are addressing it as tech providers, right? We're providing better ways to get, the proverbial fox out of the hen house. But I think it's going to be in conjunction with fixing a lot of the inefficiencies in the regulatory processes too.
Yeah. I usually hear it's like people need something because like they think that the tech is going to solve everything, and the tech's going to do its job. But if there's a process that's broken, like I think that's where like some of the things that we do, we help like course correct the process to make sure that your fraud prevention tech is like working properly.
Yeah.
I think that's like, because I look at it as like sort of like it's both. It's like a tech and a process. Like a lot of companies will just sell the tech and then just you're on your own at that point. There's no voice of feedback. There's no feedback loop. There's nothing like to make sure that they're successful. It's just like, here you bought the goods, your renewal date's this day, and there's no like successful implementation. And I think that takes me to like a load board. So, and a bold one here, I guess, because I think I asked Chris. I think I did ask Chris at Sims this on one of the other episodes. Some question variation of this is are we at the death of a load board? And if it is the spot market, how does the spot market change? Is it broken, or is it just getting exposed because of like the traditional board?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're just coming with all the good questions. I've said that like 6 times.
Good old ChatGPT there for you.
Exactly. AI. How many times can we say AI today? That's the real question. Yeah. So I think the load board thing, it's I'm going to say this and it's going to sound mean, but I don't mean it in a bad way, but the load boards are kind of like cockroaches, right? Like you can't, it's so hard to get rid of them, right? Like it's so like they just survive. But I mean that because they have good survival skills, right? Like they survive, everything. Cockroaches will survive a nuclear holocaust, right? Like it's, but I say that, right? Because it's like, that's why load boards haven't gone away, because there's always going to be this situation where the market is constantly shifting. It's tightening, it's loosening, right? And then we're going to have to go out and find capacity in other ways. Right. We may have a pandemic. Let's hope we don't have another one again. But, like that, like those situations, curveballs like that, port problems that we've had in the past, 10 years ago, we had a port strike that really gummed things up. Right. And so it got harder and harder to find carriers because capacity got weird once the backflow came out, and it was like, holy crap, we have too much freight for not enough trucks. And so it's, I think that's the hard thing with getting rid of load boards, is because like, where am I going to go 25th hour if I need a truck immediately? And so eliminating that need or eliminating that reliance on the load board comes down to what we're talking about, right? Being more efficient, having faster ways to find the right carrier within your network or even outside your network without having to go out and just post and pray.
Yeah.
And so I think yes, I think we're headed to a direction where load boards become obsolete because, the fraud problems, everything else, we don't want to deal with just random carriers that are out there just trolling boards. Right. But that's funny. I use trolling in the right concept, like not like internet trolling. Double entendre if you think about it.
Carriers I saw. So this is interesting, like the trolling, right? Like, I saw I fucking TikTok carriers, and they're very expressive about their opinions on things. And I saw one where this guy was like, I needed a load. So from the carrier perspective, I really needed a load. And he called all his brokers, he called his shipper contacts, and he needed to get to wherever he was going, looked up DET truck stop, didn't see anything that fit for what that carrier needed, and he found another board that had loads. Like it's crazy to me to think that shit's not consolidated enough already. Like there's not like, because we're not in the load board space, but it's like how why did the carrier have to go through all of these things to try to find a load? Like, I mean, even in us, what we do, we send, carriers the load offers like with their brokers. So at least we're killing the search so the carrier doesn't have to look for stuff. But still, like, do you see, like, I don't know. So it's kind of like a different conversation, but the consolidation of freight tech, like there's a lot of acquisitions going on. There's both like brokers acquiring other brokerages. Maybe it's with cross-border, whatever the fuck it is. I have no idea. But like, why is there just like so much, what's the word? Disparity, I guess. I don't know. Like, why is there so much? Yeah. Like it's just everywhere. Like,
a good word for it.
They can't. Yeah. I don't know.
I think because the market's fragmented. That's why I say that. Like, I think the freight market is just fragmented. The supply chain is fragmented, right? You've got a lot of touch points at different times in the product flow to get from point A to point B to the end user or to the final retailer or whatever. And so I think that's where you run into that issue. I would challenge that though too, because it's like, like the carrier saying like, I had to go to 6 boards just before I found the freight that I could get. And it's like, well, was it freight that you could get or freight that you wanted? Those are two different questions, right? Because like I can find a load,
$5 a mile on
but the one that I want with the right price for the right freight in the right area at the right time, and that's where the fragmentation comes in, though, right? Like it's about looking at all those variables of what the right load is for that TikTok carrier, right? And getting it in their hands as fast as possible without them having to go from board to board to board. And that's what you're talking about. Like, we aren't in the load board space, but what we are in is the efficiency space and the automation space, where what we're trying to solve for is, okay, you don't have to go to all these boards. I'm going to service up a load to you, or a few loads, right, that fit the exact criteria that you want. You can choose the one you want quickly and easily. And I think that's how you get away from fraud.
Yeah.
Because you're not just going out and finding random carriers, or random carriers aren't just going out and finding your loads.
Yeah.
And two, it's what starts to free you from having to go post and pray, right? And just go to the load boards and hope that you find the right guy and he finds you. And it's like carrier dating app, like hope that he swipes right and you swipe right, and then we get the right match. And so I think that's like I think that's part of the problem, though, is like, you got to establish those variables and like talk about the workflows and the foundational part of that first before you can just eliminate the load board. It has to be a situation where, you're actually going through the right steps and the right variables to get it to the right carrier at the right time for the price that they want. And that's kind of the fragmentation, though. That's the problem, right? Freight's all over the place for different prices, for different reasons, for different commodities. And it's about using the tools that we have and the technology we have to kind of bring that fragmentation together, the data fragmentation.
What do you, I don't know, let's take just 2 years from now, and then let's just say 5 years from now. I think I might have asked you this. I know I asked somebody else before, but are we? I'm gonna say AI again because I'm there, because there's so many fucking.
Turn it a drinking game.
Yeah.
What time is it? It's only 11:30 here.
Are we hitting the ceiling is one question, or in two, what is it gonna take if we're not? What is it gonna take to really like embrace this change? Because I feel like there's something coming. Like we've seen an uptick in, like, it's weird. Like the last like 30 days, we had an uptick of like traffic coming to us, and that, like, there's something going on. I mean, sure, the market, whatever, but automation and AI in general, those are the two. Are we near a ceiling? And if not, What is it going to look like?
So if you think about it from a tech perspective, I mean, ceilings are just smashed all the time, right? I mean, like if you look at like, I mean, it's like, it's Moore's law, right? Yeah, exactly. It's Moore's law. You just take the whole like ChatGPT and then the DeepSeek thing that happened in China, and it's just like, we just keep smashing the barriers down, and then computing power just keeps getting faster and faster. You look at like the NVIDIA stuff, right? If you look at NVIDIA and what they've done, it's like, it's exponential. Their processors are of like the transactions that their computer processors can run are, 25x what they were 3 years ago. And so, the ceiling is really just innovation then, right? It's using the computing power and it's using the technology that we have to improve upon the current processes that we have in the freight industry and that we have across, this problem, right? Whether it's fraud, whether it's covering loads, whether it's tracking loads. It's hard to say because you don't have a crystal ball, and things get gummed up by having major world events and geopolitical events and different things like that slow down progress a little bit on these things. But like, I don't know. I mean, like in 5 years, are we use the revenue per head thing as an example, right? If revenue per head today is $1.5 million on average at a brokerage or a 3PL or something, in 5 years, is it going to be 10 million a head?
Yeah,
I don't know. Could be. I mean, it's possible if we get the right tech in the right way. And you mentioned it a second ago, right? It's not just getting the tech. It's not just building it. It's implementing it. It's actually implementing the technology, the change management, all that sort of stuff. Actually, are you doing that? Are you doing that panel at the DCS?
DCS?
Yeah.
No, but I'll listen in, because that implementation is like, I think we tech and users, brokers, have to get better at implementation. I think there's like something we noticed like 6 months ago, or I don't know, maybe 8 months ago now, was that implementation piece. Like, it's so critical to like having a successful launch, and you got to have like the change management stuff. Like that's got to be one of the first things that we overturn. I don't know. So, but yeah, I think that's a fair like assumption of it. I haven't thought about it as a ceiling, and then like just building another floor to it, because it's kind of like, I mean, where we are today and then where we're gonna be. It's I don't know.
Well, the ceiling and the floor thing is actually an interesting way to think about it, right? Because like you could hit the ceiling at your brokerage for very specific reasons, right? And then you get on the elevator and go to the next floor when you adjust the change management, continue the analogy, right? Like when you adjust the change management, you keep moving more towards the penthouse, and then the penthouse isn't the penthouse anymore once somebody smashes that ceiling, which is going to continue to happen, right? The more investment in the tech, the better that the change management is handled, and the more efficient that these brokerages and 3PLs and carriers and everybody else, shippers and everything else in the process becomes, the more you can bring the data together. Then you just start building more floors, right? And you keep moving up. So yeah, maybe the ceiling is your processes, implementing the tech and the change management, and then to get to the next floor is like mastering that, right? And getting to the next step.
One of those pieces, as we wrap up here, is our partnership. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have today, and you can share in a second, but I think our rates pass over to the Chain app today.
Yes.
And then what's next is what, like, we had a good conversation with Chris and Greg Sims and Concept there at the TIA show about RFP automation, like things that are like using our capacity to like push offers into the Chain app. That's like now that the user can just like manage offers to streamline their workflow. Like, we're talking about workflows. Like, any color on that you can spill? You guys also had a recent product announcement, yeah?
We did. We had a couple things that we've been working on. So, yeah, I can share it if you wanted me to share it. I've got it.
Yeah, let's should be able to.
Share
I think
it.
I think it's gonna ask me to like move it on stage or something.
Yeah, I'm sharing it now. So if you can.
Are you? Oh, there we are. There we go. Hey,
there it is. So yeah, so this is Chain's booking platform. This is actually Sims. Just slide down there. But because I had to get an environment that had it enabled on it, right, with like real rates.
Yeah.
All good. Chris doesn't care. And Teddy and I went to college together. So if Teddy wants to come beat me up, he knows where I live.
All right, there
we go. Ted Sims. So yeah. So anyways, the chain booking platform for us is relatively new, right? We started on the tracking visibility side, introducing AI and the autopilot to manage a lot of those manual tasks that we already talked about. The booking piece is where we're working together, right? On Cargo Chief and in other ways as well, like with carrier compliance and fraud and like highways, vetting process, things like that we're working on. But like you said, our goal as a platform with Chain is to bring all the offer management into one place. So like as you're collecting offers, as you're collecting the stuff, it doesn't matter where it comes from. You can email the carriers and they can offer it back. They can email you, they can text you, they could, you could be on a load board, right? You could post it out and we have different various ways to collect that back through different links or emails. So our goal is to facilitate that process to get your offers into a single platform and then facilitate communication in that same platform so that as those trucking carriers come in, as that information comes in, right, then you are actually facilitating the offer management process within here, right? You see decline pending, bookmarked, the offers coming in from these different carriers. And then what we're doing with you guys today with C4 is bringing in those rate levels, bringing in the confidence intervals, bringing in the information around that, right? If I want to go out to C4 and go to the dashboard, I could just click dashboard. It'll pop up in my browser. I'm not logged in, so I'm not going to do it in C4 anyways. And so it's bringing those additional integrations into the process as well, right? So your rates, what are all the things you need? You got to be able to price it. You guys got to be able to get the carriers on it and cover it, right? You got to be able to, like, I don't know why you bookmarked that. That was $1,200 for a $3,100 load. Anyways, so the next step in this process is like getting away from load boards. So like what we're working on with Cargo Chief right now is your capacity management functions. And then with suggestions, like right now today, we're pulling up prior loads, what they've moved, what they moved it for, all that sort of stuff. Going forward, what we're going to be doing is bringing in Cargo Chief's capacity and bringing in other capacity. So then quickly and easily, you guys can service up. These are the best carriers to go out to, send this offer, get it back, right? And then we're collecting those offers from various locations or other things that they may be using, right? So we're doing some algorithmic approaches. So the new thing that you were talking about that we just released, if somebody uses us, like Sims is a great example of this. So Sims uses Chain for autopilot, which is the AI functions that we have to do all the automation and the workflows and communication. Sims also uses us for booking and for tracking. So we're facilitating that booking through to delivery process for them. Well, the beauty of having tracking and booking on the same platform is we know who's empty and where, right? Yeah. So backhaul opportunities, right? So in the tracking process now, what we're doing alongside the booking is, hey, Mr. Carrier, you're about to unload today. I've got a pickup for tomorrow morning in this location. Here, you can give us an offer here, right? And immediately identify backhauls. And the reps don't have to do it at all. The autopilot goes into action. The AI is monitoring all the bookings that are on the board, that are on the load board, right? Any available loads. It's also monitoring all the tracking and deliveries. So it's just doing it for you. It's just saying, hey, there's a backhaul opportunity here, right? Yeah. And then the other piece is what the automation is in conjunction with Cargo Chief, right? Going in and the AI seeing the right carriers and then just making the offer management flow automated on certain loads. So these suggestions, it just automatically sends stuff out to the right guys. And then it's going to start collecting offers back as they come back in, and then facilitating that conversation. Whoa, this guy's attached to a lot of different carriers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Don't
And he
know
bid from Sarajevo. he's obviously a dispatcher, right? Obviously a dispatcher in this regard, it's a dispatch service, which is great, but that's kind of what we're trying to service up, right? Like we're trying to help understand the identity of the bidder. We're trying to help understand, the My Carrier packet stuff, getting them onboarded or highway or whomever. And then again, once we get to this process, then facilitating, is this a good or bad offer? Is it a good or bad carrier? Right. And then when we introduce the autopilot and the AI component to that in the workflow, okay, we can just auto decline these. And so the goal is not to come in here and have, let's see one of their ones that has the highest offers, 28 offers on that load. Yeah. Right. The goal is to come in here and not have 28 offers.
Yeah. I mean,
right? The goal is to come in here and have 5.
Yeah. And there's so much noise out there. Like I talk to people, you post that load. I don't know. My example is usually LA to Phoenix, and you're going to get 20 calls and you're only booking 1. What happened on the other 19? Like, did you really talk to those people, or did you, fuck, what a waste of time. I mean, it's, and as
25 of these might be crap. Right?
Yeah.
It might just be 1 fraudulent, 2, it's 2,400, and, they're bidding 4,000 and we have, 3,000 in it. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's just, they're not going to come down. No, sorry, cool, decline. Right.
Yeah.
Like that. So it's also sifting through all the crap. So it's not just, it's identifying the right carriers, which we talked about, but it's also then identifying the right bids as they come in, because that's part of that process of being more efficient is also identifying like what's just auto declines, and let's get them off the board so we can speed that process up.
Yeah. It's such a, I don't miss fielding calls like that. Like it was,
no,
I mean, and you can't just be like, no, pound sand, asshole, I'm not talking to you. And like you got to at least hear the carrier out, right? Like at a brokerage, you got, or you have a nice offer management system that you're not having to like be an asshole, or you can just, you can like see the offers and just be able to book the one that worked. And then if your carrier calls and it's like, hey, why, I sent an offer, why didn't you book with me? That's a different conversation than, no, I got to be at $1 a mile or whatever the alternative is. Like that's a different conversation. And now you're starting to like enjoy your job instead of no, on to the next 302nd call.
And that's funny too, right? Because this goes back to the earlier conversation about not removing humans from the equation either. We're not trying to remove the human from the equation. What we're trying to do is get rid of all the bad data, all the bad crap, so that the human can just make better decisions faster. That's the end goal.
What do you? So one thing that I know a lot of people get excited about is the tracking piece. I don't know if you can. Like what's this, the not secret sauce, but why is it, so appealing?
Yeah.
Because I mean, like you said, tracking's been around for a while, but like it's different. People, I don't like, they gravitate towards this and curious.
Yeah. So the tracking piece is about more than just tracking. It's not just about tracking a load, right? It's about all of the individual small tasks that go into tracking a load, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are still manual. I gotta email a dispatcher or text a driver to get some update or whatever, right? And it's one simple thing. It's get an ETA, right? It's get a POD from them and get an image back. It's get a, are you loaded and moving? Things like that you haven't gotten the ping back from the geofence yet, and but you need to get an update for the customer that they've loaded and that they're rolling. And like, so you have to stop what you're doing. You have to find those loads, and then you got to go through your SOP and reach out. And that's where same idea as what we were talking about with booking, facilitating in one location, all the communication, right? Get all the parties involved, right, that are attached to it. The customer, the team members, or not the customer, but the team members, the carrier, the dispatcher, right, the driver, whatever. And then from there, being able to go through and actually automate the outreach, right? Yeah. So from the moment that this is booked, get out the info, start tracking. If they don't choose correct permissions, if they don't, do whatever, like the AI just goes to work. Hey, you need to choose the right permissions. Hey, we need to get this tracked. You're not tracking, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, it's stuff like this, right? So Sam, it looks like it's coming from the rep. It's going to the driver's phone directly, but it's coming via our AI. Yeah. Hey, are you all loaded up there in Bremen, Georgia? Yes, I'm still loading up right now. So that's the other piece of this, right? It's like those little things. Geofencing isn't, or in this case, I think we're tracking via ELD in this case. Yeah. That's not enough. Like you're still going to have all these different crazy requirements coming in from your customers of, I need this ETA at these times, or I need this stuff for compliance purposes, right? And that improves the service metrics with the customer, but takes it off of your people's plates. And like AI can monitor every load at all times, 24/7 for these changes and updates and all that sort of stuff. So when you have all of the info, the appointment times, pickup times, the changes coming in from the TMS, everything that's going on, then the AI can just go to work and run your SOPs for you in that process, right? And then the last piece of that I think understated is, it's not just getting the information. It's not just calling somebody up or texting somebody or emailing somebody and getting this information back. The next step is, if I click shipment activities, it's actually putting it back in the TMS. Right? You actually have to get the data, parse it, and get it back in the TMS, which requires a certain type of language model and whatever to get that information and push it back. So in these instances, you'll see here where the autopilot is tracking every field and every action that needs to be taken, and then going back and pushing this stuff back into the TMS and making the updates for you. So that data entry process is also automated.
That's we had the last episode we had was they were talking about, Packer Freight was talking about like the automation, like the booking agent will take the load data, go to cargo chief, send the load offer to the carrier engages, that offer goes back to the TMS, then it triggers the assignment, the rate con, that goes back to the carrier. Nobody has to do anything. And it's about getting it back to the TMS and back out of the TMS to the carrier. Like because that's all work. And it's wild, man, just to think about.
Just a lot of touches that are pretty. You said it earlier, which is funny. Is this what you got a college degree for?
Yeah.
to send little messages and get these things back and then put them back in the TMS to be a data entry clerk? No.
Yeah.
You want Sam and these people out there doing more work, like generating more revenue, managing exceptions, right? I mean, that's the other thing that we do. The AI will identify exceptions, identify issues in this process, right? Status changes, that sort of stuff. So if there is an issue in here, it'll immediately say, this field will say shipment, exception detected or issue detected. It'll alert the rep can get involved. You want them handling that stuff, right? When there's a problem, there's things going on, because that's what they're really good at, or out there getting more business for you, right? Or whatever. So it's not about eliminating these people from the process. It's just about repositioning them so that they're one, more efficient, but two, like more effective, at doing their jobs.
Yeah. It's wild just to think about where brokerage is today. We'll take that. Let's see if I click this button properly. There we go. All right, Kevin, I appreciate it, man.
It's always good, man.
I don't know that we've had a full demo yet, but that was cool. That was cool to have a cool view there. But any last tidbits for the audience words of advice? What are they going to do the next?
No, I mean, I think we touched on a big topic here, right? Like that is everything I just showed you. Obviously, it's very cool. It's cool. You can automate this stuff. You can manage this stuff easier, more efficiently, more effectively. At the end of the day, though, it comes down to change management. You have to be prepared. You have to be asking the right questions, getting the right information done, right? If somebody comes in and tells you, yeah, we can program that. Yeah, we can build that. Like, you're already losing at that point, right? Like, you have to have this stuff ready to go so that then you can internalize your SOPs or whatever, and then you can manage this. And so having the right leadership involved, having the right people involved to get these things done efficiently is a huge, that implementation process of the tech and getting that stuff done is just as important as the tech itself. And so I think that's the other thing. Like, I think we just all need to be better about that change management process and implementing these things as well to make it work.
Kevin, appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure.